The College Station Fire Department is seeing a shortage in paramedics. Coming up, we'll take a deeper look into how they're looking to solve the issue. Plus, a little later in the show, we'll take a deeper look into the potential move from two of the Big 12's biggest schools to the SEC.
No more rain to speak of for the time being. Those rain chances are going to be 0 through the next week. Instead, we're just talking about some very hot and humid weather. Your KRHD News starts right now.
Connecting the Brazos Valley, this is KRHD News.
Good evening and happy Friday, and thank you for joining us for KRHD News at 6. I'm Hallie Jones. The City of College Station's fire department is seeing a shortage in paramedics. And as KRHD reporter Rachel Esbayat shows us, they're looking for a grant to help get people trained.
The standard at College Station Fire Department is to have a minimum of 1 paramedic on an ambulance and fire engine, but the paramedic shortage is putting a strain on resources. The job of a paramedic is a demanding one that requires hand-on clinical training. Braden Rhodes sees it firsthand, working alongside as a firefighter and EMT.
I was hooked. I saw the way the paramedics worked, and I thought, man, I just want to become one of those.
Pandemic delayed his opportunity for training at a time when the fire department needs more hands on deck.
And I saw that our department needed paramedics, and I want to help my department and help the city.
For over a year, we've not been producing paramedics, and so that's really caused the shortage.
The College Station fire chief says the department needs a minimum of 54 paramedics, but they only have 47. The shortage hasn't impacted response times, but responders feel the strain.
The public would never know that we're down on paramedics because we keep the staffing level where it needs to be on the ambulance.
Now on the back end, what you're having is a lot of people working overtime, a lot of people doing more than their fair share, and most of us just do it and don't ask questions because it's what we signed up for.
The department is applying for a grant to help train current firefighters and EMTs to become paramedics to fill the gap. Paramedics are also being offered a bonus to hire. In College Station, Rachel Esbayat, KRHD News.
And some benefits to becoming a paramedic or EMT include small classes with one-on-one hands-on learning. You'll also have access to the state-of-the-art EMS lab and flexible schedules. EMT and paramedic courses are also eligible for VA benefit assistance. You could also earn semester credit hours through the American Council on Education. While waiting longer between doses of the Pfizer COVID vaccine could mean better protection against the virus. A new study finds waiting leads to stronger antibody levels overall, but levels weren't sustainably stronger until after the second dose. Researchers hope it can help them create strategies to fight variants in the future. Scientists emphasize the current 2-dose schedule is safe and effective. The U.S. government is buying more Pfizer vaccine doses. 200 million additional doses will be delivered between October and April. These doses are meant to make sure there are enough for boosters and young children. This new purchase of vaccines is different from the 500 million that the U.S. just bought to send to other countries. Meanwhile, 2 senators are proposing a bill that would hold social media companies accountable for health-related misinformation. The Health Misinformation Act would specifically crack down on false information about vaccines. It would change a provision in the Communications Decency Act, which protects companies against these types of posts. The proposed bill would take away that protection if a company's algorithm promotes misinformation about a public health crisis. While many small businesses and restaurant owners across the country have struggled to find enough workers, many people have pointed blame at unemployment benefits and have attempted to end them. But as our Joe St. George discovers, the job market is more complicated than that.
We are, sir. You're very welcome.
We aren't breaking any news.
This is our coffee vanilla cream ale.
By telling you restaurant owners have had a hard year and a half. Health orders first shut them down, and when they reopened, staffing them became a struggle.
A lot of those more senior servers did not come back.
Nick Taylor is the manager of Oscars.
So right now we can't open for 2 of the days that we normally would be.
Bob Suter owns Wolf's Ridge Brewery, both operate in Metro Columbus, Ohio. You might not live here, but there's a good chance restaurant owners and small business owners near you feel the exact same way. They want to hire people, but qualified applicants aren't showing up for interviews. In June, job openings nationwide were at 9.2 million, a new record. Restaurant and brewery owners resorting to something they've never done before: sign-on bonuses.
$250, yeah, for a cook, things like that. We've paid those.
For months, the complaint from many conservative leaders is that Congress is giving away too much money. Since the pandemic began, $3,200 in stimulus checks have been handed out. $300 weekly bonus unemployment benefits are being distributed until the beginning of September. Not to mention monthly child tax credit payments are going out to workers with children for the rest of this year. Nationwide, many Republican governors concluded those $300 weekly bonus unemployment benefits are to blame. In each one of these 26 states has either ended the bonus cash prematurely or attempted to end them before a lawsuit was filed. But is cutting the benefits actually bringing people back to work? Well, depends who you ask. Both Nick and Bob work in a state where those bonus benefits ended nearly a month ago.
Prior to that, I would say I would post an ad and get 1 or 2 responses. Now I get 4 a day.
Bob, however, disagrees.
We never really bought into that, didn't expect a full flood of resumes, and we haven't seen that. Right now, I mean, we could absolutely hire probably at least 5 people in the kitchen.
He says many of his most dependable employees have simply moved on, using the extra cash and time off to gain new skills.
One cook that did work for us for a little bit is now working in an auto repair shop, making a lot more money.
While it's still early, Bob may be right. Economists from Oxford Economics and Goldman Sachs have found only a marginal effect of ending those bonus unemployment benefits early, a sign the labor market may be a bit more complex than before.
It is changing the demographics of the workplace.
Roger Geiger is with the National Federation of Independent Business and says no one quite knows what's going on, but companies who've created more work from home opportunities have likely hurt businesses that need workers to show up in person.
You got to have people at that restaurant. You got to have people at that car wash. Part of it is people have childcare issues.
Some employment experts say the best way to get more people back in the workforce is to simply pay them more. But when you speak to small business owners and business leaders, the answer, well, is not that simple.
I don't want to be the restaurant that has to charge $40 for a steak.
Trying to start an economy from a coma is tough.
In Columbus, Ohio, I'm Joe St. George.
The Brazos Valley Food Bank is delivering food to those who need it most, and right now they're front doors. The mobile pantry was originally held at a small church. Now this once-a-month program sees about 140 cars and families. Many of them rely on this resource to put food on the table when times get tough.
It means a whole lot. That's one reason I come. So, because you never know what shape we're going to get in, so just goes. And then if y'all can help us or we can help somebody else.
There are 3 other mobile pantries providing service once a month. 2 are in Washington County, and there's 1 in Grimes County. The chip shortage we've all been hearing about may be affecting cell phones soon. Reuters reports the shortage will likely last into 2022 and hit smartphones next. Experts say the shortage should start to loosen its grip on the car industry. Taiwanese companies are making chips specifically for vehicles in need. The move should help address that shortage, but will leave cell phones and other appliances in need. Electric vehicle sales will pass those of gas-powered cars in the U.S. by 2036. That's according to a new estimate by Ernst & Young. The consultancy firm did a study and found Europe will hit the milestone first. 3.2 million out of 78 million vehicles sold globally in 2020 were electric, according to a manufacturer's organization. And houses continue to fly off the market, with prices reaching new record highs in June. That's according to the National Association of Realtors. The median price for a home hit an all-time high of around $363,000. That's up 23% over the past year. 90% of homes are selling within a month and are only on the market an average of 17 days.
The pandemic launched federal help to allow schools to offer free meals. Now some states are making that permanent. California and Maine both just passed legislation for statewide universal free lunch programs, and that means that all students can get a free meal regardless of their family's income. Previously, only some cities offered this, like New York, Boston, and Chicago. Now, this is especially important in California, where on paper, many families make enough money to be ineligible, but the cost of living is so high, and that's not accounted for.
Free lunch will mean income support for those families. And it is something that would be good for the nation.
In order to be eligible for free school meals, you have to make $35,000 or less as a family of 4. So most families that don't qualify for free school meals may be struggling to make ends meet.
For reduced price meals, income only needs to be $48,000. The Food Research and Action Center says with federal thresholds that low, this problem's nationwide. Communities of color are disproportionately affected, along with immigrant communities. In California, about 60% of students who qualified for free meals weren't participating. There's also a stigma that universal programs can eliminate.
Kids don't want to feel like they're the poor kids in the cafeteria.
Healthy food is as important as textbooks and supplies to the educational process.
Kat Taylor, who backed the legislation in California, points out that without proper nutrition, students aren't as attentive in class. She says other ripple effects include more business for local farmers and alleviating the national school lunch debt. Now that averages about $260 million a year.
If they're not charging kids for breakfast and lunch, then the schools aren't having to make sure that there's money in the school lunch account or make sure that kids have cash in hand.
Both advocates that we spoke with hope the legislation in California and Maine will be able to provide a national framework for free school lunch programs. As the Olympics officially get underway today, about 100 American athletes are not vaccinated. This story tops the newsfeed. Of the 610 U.S. athletes in the games that filled out their health history before heading to Japan, 83% said they were vaccinated. So far, 2 American athletes have tested positive for the virus. U.S. Paralympians who win medals in Tokyo will now earn the same as Olympians. This is thanks to a 2018 decision by the U.S. Olympic Committee Board. Now, in previous Olympic Games, Paralympians received about $30,000 less for a gold medal. The Tokyo Olympics will be the most inclusive games ever, with more than 160 openly LGBTQ athletes taking part. Activists hope to use these games as an opportunity to raise awareness and public support for LGBTQ issues.
She almost kind of wrote us a roadmap for looking at somebody's life over a year with long-haul COVID.
A heartbreaking story of one woman's battle with long-haul COVID, how her husband is now continuing her work and helping others dealing with lasting symptoms.
First Alert meteorologist Caleb Chevalier is here with a look at our forecast.
It's going to be getting hotter over the next few days. That's no surprise. It's certainly what we've been advertising for a little while, but here's why. High pressure is sitting over the Gulf right now. It's going to be moving westward over the next few days, and certainly by Sunday it's going to be over top of central Texas and the Brazos Valley. Now, over the next week or so, it's going to slowly continue to slide to the west, but it's going to keep some of that really hot weather in play while keeping all of this rain you see out on the corners of the map and not really in Texas. So not only are we going to be staying hot, but it's going to be fairly dry as well. So today was the last chance of any sort of shower in the area, and I know we had a couple, but we're going to be really staying on the dry side this evening and tonight and into tomorrow. In fact, very little in the way of cloud cover. It'll be a mostly sunny day with temperatures in the mid-90s, and Sunday's kind of a repeat. Other than a few clouds here and there, there's certainly no green to show on Future Track. That rain is long gone. There'll be quite a bit of sunshine, and those afternoons are going to feel close to 100 degrees, if not a little bit over 100, because of that heat and humidity. So if anything, it is nice that we have a little bit of a breeze to help cool us off. Those winds tomorrow will be out of the south and southwest at about 10 miles per hour. But Sunday, as high pressure gets over top of us, that really starts to calm things down, and so not as much of a breeze at all. Here for Sunday, generally down to about 4 to 5 miles per hour. So unfortunately, we'd like to have a little bit of some breeze to help maybe have some relief from that heat, but with high pressure over top of you, it really is hard to get some breezes going. So 96 on Sunday, and on Monday we'll be at 97 degrees, mostly sunny there, and then back down to 96 on Tuesday and Wednesday. Your morning lows are going to be staying in the mid-70s for some time, and check it out, there really is no rain to see here on this forecast. Certainly it's going to be hot though. We'll be back to 97 by the end of next week and going into next weekend.
They're desperate, and they feel like they're losing. They feel like nobody's paying attention.
When Nick Gouda shared his story nearly 2 months ago, he didn't expect that it would be heard around the world. His wife died by suicide after suffering more than a year from long-haul COVID symptoms. Amanda Brandeis explains how his trauma and grief is now helping others feel less alone.
The most haunting thing she said to me was, I feel like a robot that's malfunctioning. I feel like all of my systems are malfunctioning.
Heidi Ferrer made her living off words. A writer, she used them to navigate life.
She spent hours and hours and hours online interacting with other long-haul COVID sufferers and helping them.
Long haulers experience new or lingering symptoms weeks or months after recovering from COVID.
She kept voluminous daily notes in her phone about her symptoms and her condition. She almost kind of wrote us a roadmap for looking at somebody's life over a year with long-haul COVID.
Nerve pain, digestive issues, weakness, exhaustion.
She was bedridden. She couldn't walk more than a few steps. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't read a book. What's left?
Last year, she wrote, "One of the cruelest things COVID did to me was take away my ability to have dreams."
She wasn't depressed. She was brought to do this by being physically broken down piece by piece by long-haul COVID over a year. She was in excruciating physical pain every day.
Her story hit a nerve, picked up by media outlets worldwide.
I was happy to see that people were taking an interest in what happened to her, because up until now, the medical community hadn't. So.
And now the words of others who are suffering flood his inbox.
I'm so sorry about your wife, but I get it. That thought has crossed my mind too many times, and I don't want that for me either, but this is horrible.
Many say no one believes them.
I too am a long hauler. No one really understands me when I talk to them, mostly family members.
Firefighters, nurses, lawyers, and service members.
I'm a manager on a Navy base in the commissary. I'm so very sorry for your loss.
People desperate for answers, desperate for connection.
Nick, I'm laying in a hospital bed as I write this with many of the same symptoms as your beautiful wife, in excruciating pain for 15 months. Our stories are almost identical. And then Nick was kind enough to get back in touch with me, and we subsequently...
Richard is among the hundreds who've written to Nick.
I have been admitted to the hospital, different hospitals, a total of probably more than 3 months. I've been to the emergency room probably 40 times.
While equipped with a good team of doctors, he still has few answers.
One day you might be okay, and then you might be unable to get out of bed for the next 3 or 4 days.
Struggling daily with digestive issues, food intolerance, and neurological problems.
It's absolutely debilitating.
There are a lot of people out there like her who are literally disabled right now from it. They cannot work, they cannot function, they cannot take care of themselves. We don't leave people on the battlefield in this country. We don't leave our soldiers behind. And if this is a war on COVID, what are we doing for these people?
In Los Angeles, I'm Amanda Brandeis reporting.
All right, Amanda, thank you. Now, as you heard in Heidi and Nick's story, the long-term symptoms of COVID range from fatigue to extreme neurological pain. Some health experts have long been worried about the mental consequences.
We could see, for lack of a better term, we could see the storm clouds building, and we've known this from the very beginning.
Retired professor at Northwestern and psychologist Dr. Mark Renneke is treating COVID long-haul patients. Studies estimate roughly 10% of people who get COVID have long-haul COVID. Now that the country has made progress in addressing the physical components of the disease, he says there needs to be more emphasis on the long-term consequences.
And so there's at least 3 different groups of very specific individuals who are having difficulty adjusting to the long-term effects of COVID. And that doesn't let it go. That doesn't even touch upon those who have had relatives or friends or family pass away, or have lost their jobs, or their corporation, their businesses collapsed. You know, there's all manner of long-term consequences of COVID that we're going to have to contend with for years to come.
Dr. Renneke points out that there's a lot of research being done on COVID long hauler, but it's really scattered at this point. Now, talking to us and in a Chicago Tribune op-ed, he proposed some solutions, including a national COVID response office to coordinate the development of evidence-based programs to address the social and emotional consequences of this pandemic, opening community-based centers to treat chronic COVID conditions, train medical professionals in evidence-based care of psychological and social consequences of COVID-19, as well as making sure that chronic COVID and PTSD patients and children who had the multisystem inflammatory syndrome have a mental health provider. Now, all of that could help prevent some of the worst stories that we've heard of COVID long-haul patients ending their life. A poll about long COVID from online support group Survivor Corps found that nearly 18% of its members who answered said they had thought about suicide.
One is the installation of hope, a sense of a positive future that is out there. The notion that it may be different than the way your life has been in the past, but it can be positive.
Now, if you or someone you know needs mental health help or is considering suicide, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is right here on your screen, 800-273-8255.
We turn now to Houston, where a man is accused of hijacking an ambulance and taking the EMT and the patient along for the ride. And at one point, he radioed dispatchers. Charlie Edsity shows us what happened.
A dangerous early morning chase, some of it captured by our ABC 13 photographer, all began around 3 o'clock this morning on 610 near Braeswood.
That they were actually transporting has been transferred to another ambulance and has been transferred to the hospital.
According to investigators, the suspect was inside of a car when he pulled in front of the ambulance and put on his brakes, causing the ambulance to stop. That's when the suspect allegedly got out of the car, fired shots at passing vehicles, according to HPD, and then pointed the gun at the EMT behind the wheel, forcing that driver to get out. The suspect got behind the wheel and took off towards 288 and then onto the Southwest Freeway.
The EMT in the back realized that something was off. They were not headed in the right direction. She poked her head through the window and realized that it was somebody else driving that vehicle. Apparently, the suspect also pointed a gun at that EMT.
At one point, the suspect was using the radio to talk to dispatchers.
Can anybody hear me? I repeat, I'm the guy driving an ambulance. I'm trying to talk to the supervisor.
HPD managed to track the ambulance and get the suspect to stop on 59 near Wesleyan, where he was taken into custody. And at points, he was unable to stand up on his own. The patient in the back was put into another ambulance and taken to the hospital and is expected to be okay. And as for the EMT, she is shaken up but okay and now being hailed a hero for her calm under chaos.
She did an outstanding job throughout the entire incident. She remained focused. She remained, focused on the patient's needs.
Home buyers' priorities are changing when they're looking for a house. This is according to an analysis by Zillow that distance and commute time to work isn't as important as it once was.
Before the pandemic, most people mentioned that they were looking at places within a 30 to 45-minute commute, sometimes up to an hour, but not really beyond that. That was kind of the limit that most people had set.
Today, people care more about affordability and price and are more willing to live far away from city and urban centers. Data from Zillow shows that homes that are within a 10-minute drive of those downtown job centers are among the most expensive homes in 18 American cities. And now that home buyers aren't putting so much weight on their commute, prices of those homes are dropping in some places.
So in really expensive markets, we're seeing home values growing a lot faster, further out from job centers. So that's showing us that there's more demand for these longer commute times.
Researchers at Zillow expect prices in city centers and suburban areas to even out as more people move out to more affordable areas. Now, many restaurants applied for relief aid, but they never saw it. We're taking a deeper look into why that happened and the help that could be coming.
If you've been around College Station long enough, you know there is a common theme: Aggies help Aggies. KRHD News reporter Hannah King takes us inside a Vision Day in partnership with Vaughn's Vision.
The REACH project saw a gap in accessibility for affordable eye care within their Aggie service families and wanted to partner with Vaughn's Vision to help fill it. 40 children of the REACH project's Essential Aggies received a free eye exam Friday and, if needed, a new pair of glasses too. The nonprofit reached out to Vaughn's Vision, an organization giving kids the gift of sight, and they made it happen Friday for children of Reach families ages 5 to 17. For Dulce Sanchez, a new pair of glasses will give her the freedom to choose where she wants to sit within her classrooms this upcoming school year.
Very helpful because I can't really see far. So it'll be better to finally be able to see, right?
Using A&M resources to serve the entire A&M community, Max Gerald, the Reach Project's founder, says will leave a long-lasting impact for families who need them. Reporting in College Station, Hannah King, KRHD News.
It's a Lone Star showdown in Houston tonight. The Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros set to take on the field against each other to start a 3-game series. WTAW's Zach Taylor joins us now with sports.
Here's your 25 sports update with WTAW's Zach Taylor.
Hey KRHD viewers, Texas and Oklahoma have officially informed the Big 12 Conference that they plan on leaving. Now, all signs point to the Longhorns and Sooners joining the Southeastern Conference, but no official announcement has been made yet. At least 11 of the 14 SEC schools must approve the move. Texas A&M football has been pegged by the SEC media to finish second in the SEC West. Alabama is projected to win the division and defeat Georgia in the SEC title game. Now, a total of 6 Aggies were named to the preseason All-SEC team, with running back Isaiah Spiller, tight end Jalen Wademeyer, and offensive lineman Kenyon Green pegged to the first team. After being rained out for 2 straight nights, the Brazos Valley Bombers look to take the field this evening when they visit the Baton Rouge Rougarou. First pitch is at 7:05. Meanwhile, in the Bigs, it's a Lone Star showdown tonight in Houston as the Astros host the Texas Rangers. Things get underway at 7:10 at Minute Maid Park. And the Tokyo Olympic opening ceremonies were held this morning with 205 countries in attendance. Japanese tennis star Naomi Osaka led the cauldron that officially started the games. And that's been your sports update. From the WTAW Sports Studio, I'm Zach Taylor.
And as you just heard Zach say, SEC football fans are closely watching the possible move of the University of Texas and the University of Oklahoma to the Southeastern Conference. As news of the move could become official in a matter of days, local Aggie fans here in College Station are voicing their thoughts on the possibility of the move and facing old rivals from the Big 12 Conference.
I mean, obviously it would make the SEC a bigger powerhouse, adding Oklahoma and Texas. I mean, they're not bad teams by any means. And I think it would definitely reboot a rivalry that us Aggie fans have been missing for a while.
The last time the Aggies played the Longhorns was 10 years ago in a 27-25 loss, and the last time they faced the Sooners was in a 41-13 win in the 2013 Cotton Bowl.
For the past 12 months, we've been investigating COVID relief money, including those who need the money but can't get it. Restaurant owners claim they've been promised money that never arrived. But as Patrick Terpstra shows us, this comes after some say they've lost out on other aid because they're military veterans.
The famous Buena Vista Cafe in San Francisco.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
It's where Andy Garcia picked up Meg Ryan in When a Man Loves a Woman.
Where are you going after this?
And it's the American home of the Irish coffee.
Would you like one, incidentally?
No, thank you. I'm on the job.
Oh, that hasn't stopped a lot of people, trust me.
Bob Freeman is majority owner of the place, and key to this story, he also served in the Navy long ago.
I was in Spain and Texas. The military is good to me.
Odd as it sounds, his status as a veteran became a problem when he applied for a federal COVID relief grant for this iconic eatery.
I wouldn't have checked veteran if I thought it was going to do what it did to me.
Freeman was supposed to be at the front of the line to get help from the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. Congress required the Small Business Administration to prioritize restaurateurs who were military veterans, women, or socially and economically disadvantaged, including people of color. In May, the SBA emailed Freeman, "Congratulations, award approved." Uncle Sam promised to pour well over $1 million into the Buena Vista, money that wouldn't have to be paid back.
We didn't have a party, we didn't jump up and down, but we said, wow, that's good. Coming through, there we go.
Freeman planned to spend the cash hiring back furloughed staff and making structural repairs on this 100-year-old building. Then,
bingo, there comes the email that says, oops, just kidding.
The SBA emailed again to say they would not be able to disperse his grant. The agency said it was because the government had just lost legal challenges. Conservative groups argued the SBA was discriminating against white men by prioritizing women and minorities.
So the government is not supposed to treat anybody differently based on race or gender.
It appears an unintended consequence of that litigation was that, along with women and minorities, at least some veterans also lost their priority status for the fund.
It is ironic that this did end up denying some white men funding who happen to be military veterans.
We never sought any change for the program with regard to veterans.
The SBA says the ongoing legal cases limit what it can tell us. The agency would not answer why it would freeze a payment to a veteran if the lawsuits were about race and gender. It's possible the SBA was interpreting one ruling that said funding for restaurants should be first come, first served. How many restaurant owners are out there like Bob Freeman, told they're going to get help, only for the government to then say, never mind? It's been a bit of a mystery, but one we are starting to solve. The SBA has acknowledged about 3,000 restaurant owners given priority consideration had their grants rescinded after the lawsuits. Federal spending records our data team reviewed show the SBA canceled payments to double that number of restaurants. More than 6,000 restaurant owners impacted. SBA won't break down how many were women, people of color, or veterans.
The checks in the mail, that's one of the three biggest lies in the world, the checks in the mail. Well, the government just perpetrated that crime, in my mind.
Instead of mailing that check, the SBA added the thousands of denied restaurant owners into the general pool of applicants hoping for assistance. By that point, the relief program was almost out of money. Freeman and the Buena Vista would get nothing before the fund ran dry. It almost seems like you got penalized for being a veteran.
Exactly right, and that is a little bit stressful.
More than 100,000 restaurants did get funding. About 6% were owned by veterans. But the vast majority of all restaurant owners who applied for help, about 64% of applicants, couldn't get a penny. Congress had set aside far too little to meet the need from restaurants still suffering even as customers get back to dining out. Renovations at the Buena Vista will now have to wait.
And this was kind of the lifeline. It was going to get you back in business. That's gone away. It's the most un-American thing that I can imagine.
Restaurant owners hope Congress will feed billions more dollars into the relief fund that left so many still hungry for help. I'm Patrick Terpstra reporting in San Francisco.
First Alert meteorologist Caleb Chevalier is standing by.
We're tapping into some high-resolution data here. This is the satellite picture with all these white dots you see. Those are all the cumulus clouds that popped up today, and some of those are starting to fade away now that we're losing the peak daytime heating. There were a few showers off to our north and northeast. Those are since done. And that's going to be the last time I think we're going to turn up rain on our radar for a long time, now that we're making our way into a very dry and toasty pattern. So keeping it partly cloudy this evening into mostly clear skies tonight, and tomorrow also mostly clear. High pressure really begins to take over, so really a lot of sunshine, certainly no rain in the area, and Sunday is going to be about the same. There's still plenty of sun where that came from, but with high pressure coming over top of us, that's going to allow the heat to build. And maybe over the next few days, the humidity will lighten up somewhat, but still that combination will allow for some afternoons to feel like 100 plus, especially as we get into next week. So tomorrow, 8 a.m., 77 degrees, right around 89 for your lunchtime. High is near 95 to 96 around 4 o'clock, and 82 partly cloudy at 10 p.m. So here is that 10-day forecast, which is completely devoid of rain. 96 on Sunday, 97 on Monday, mostly sunny, and then partly cloudy pretty much through the next week ahead, with highs right around 96 to 95, morning lows in the mid-70s. And there are some more 97s down the road going into next weekend, which certainly means it's going to feel like 102 to 103 in the afternoon.
NFL teams could face potential forfeits due to COVID-19 outbreaks if they're not vaccinated. In a memo, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell warned 32 teams that in the case of an outbreak, no games would be rescheduled, but forfeits could happen instead. When a regular season game forfeit happens, players on neither team are paid. Now, more than 10,000 UK workers are now exempt from standard quarantine rules. The British government said those mandates led to staff shortages, empty shelves, and fears of panic buying. Now workers there who test negative for COVID will continue working even after they've been notified to self-isolate. There's a new push to make health insurance companies pay infertility treatments. On Monday, while the current system can be complex to navigate for families and what could change for hopeful parents in the future, but still to come today.
Are you tired?
No.
You're not tired?
No.
We catch up with this 14-year-old as she logs thousands of miles around the country after her Scripps National Spelling Bee win. Courage and persistence, two qualities that embody the grit and determination needed for success. For the last 25 years, a development program has been teaching thousands of children these core values in a unique way. Usher Qureshi takes a look at the program and communities across the country that builds character one board at a time.
How does that feel?
With their safety pads strapped and bright green helmets in place, these 11 to 13-year-olds are learning the basics of skateboarding.
That's pretty good.
But it's more than that.
Our mission is to help kids overcome challenges through board sports. So we do skateboarding, we do surfing, stand-up paddleboarding, as well as snowboarding.
Each year, 3,000 children around the world take part in the Chill Foundation's unique youth development program.
We have different youth that come from all different backgrounds. So this may be even their first time experiencing a board sport.
The aim is to help them focus their energy in positive ways to overcome personal obstacles.
A lot of the things I'll focus on with them is making sure that the confidence is always going to be present there, and that grit is also present.
Chill currently offers programs in 24 cities in 10 countries throughout the world, including Denver, Salt Lake City, Baltimore, Grand Rapids, and Chicago. Through board sports, they focus on 6 core values:
respect, courage, persistence, patience, responsibility, and pride.
Look at where you're going.
A lot of times that means falling down, but not giving up.
Having that courage is definitely vital to helping them get through the skateboarding program and also throughout life.
That's super important for me, that they understand that they are not failing, that they're overcoming that small little challenge, and if they're falling, it's because they're progressing.
Jalea Williams has taken a number of tumbles on this day.
From the ramp to south, probably 4 to 5.
But the rambunctious 11-year-old has no intention of yielding to the half-pipes or the boards. What do you want to be able to do?
Definitely learn more tricks. I learned how to do the one you flip the skateboard over when you jump. I learned that one. Haven't done it in a while due to COVID and stuff.
It's also about camaraderie.
Being with the other girls is fun because we all help each other out and none of us laugh at each other when we fall. So if we do fall, it's not sad because we'll just pick each other up again.
Noble life lessons we all could learn from. Reporting from Chicago, I'm Usher Qureshi.
Checking the newsfeed. The nationwide product and material shortage continues. Aluminum, appliances, foam, furniture, plastic are just some of the materials in short supply, and we will likely see prices go up in the future. Now, services are also in short supply. Experts say 92% of construction companies are reporting a shortage of skilled laborers. As the auto industry continues to struggle with that global chip shortage, General Motors will temporarily shut down most of its pickup production starting Monday. GM will halt production at its Fort Wayne, Indiana assembly plant for a week. It is where most full-size models like the Chevy Silverado 1500 and the GMC Sierra 1500 are built. Now, you may be waiting longer for your Domino's pizza. Domino's is saying that its wait times have gone up in certain parts of the country. Now, it's a problem that many restaurants face as more customers are dining out with fewer workers. Domino's CEO says in addition to customers waiting longer for delivery, opening new restaurants will take longer.
MURRAYA.
That is correct.
And with that, Zaila Avantgarde became the first Black American girl to win the Scripps National Spelling Bee. Now, this 14-year-old who loves Whitney Houston and holds 3 Guinness World Records has become a national celebrity overnight. But as Chris Conti shows us, she is still staying humble to her roots.
The dictionary defines confidence as a state of certainty.
Hey, spelling bee champ.
A word often tossed around with little thought. But Zaila Avant-Garde is confident in her skills both on and off the court.
Game over. Murraya.
That is correct.
That's Zaila winning this year's Scripps National Spelling Bee Championship. The winning word was Mariah, a citrus flower found in the Pacific. That's not, though, how Zaila remembered it.
So did you know the last word, or you used the strategy to
Oh
spell?
no, I knew the last word. You can't strategize your way through all words. There are plenty of words, like exceptions that you have to use different strategies or just know them. And Maria, I just knew it because my strategy for that word was remembering Bill Murray.
Aside from Bill Murray, she loves Whitney Houston, holds 3 Guinness World Records for dribbling, can run circles around most English teachers, and yet does not care much about the $50,000 grand prize she just brought home.
Money's useful. It has some uses, but trophies, one I could sell that or pawn it, which I would never do. Never, ever. I will starve first.
You're gonna pawn the trophy.
No, I'll starve first. I would never, ever do it. But trophies are that's something you can always look at. You can't really always look at money or something.
In the last 2 weeks, this 12-year-old has been on Jimmy Kimmel, made an appearance at the ESPYs, even flown to Manhattan to visit the New York Times.
Are you tired?
No.
You're not tired.
No.
She has logged thousands of miles in the air, but this newly minted frequent flyer only has one takeaway from traveling.
What have you liked the most about the last couple weeks?
Traveling and when the airplanes have TVs, I really like that part.
Back at home in Harvey, Louisiana, Zaila is a local celebrity. Her mom shot this video of a parade the town held in her honor last week. None of this happened by accident. Zaila actually prepared for the bee by prepping with other spellers from previous years.
So you have to have strategy, right? Because you're never going to learn every word in the dictionary.
Yeah, roots are my strategy. Roots, like knowing roots, is kind of like a file cabinet.
As for being the first African-American student to take home the title, that symbolism is not lost on her either.
What do you hope other kids maybe take away from this whole thing?
That they can do it, and that it's possible to be done, and that they probably need to study a lot to win.
If Webster's is looking to redefine the word role model,
Yeah.
we've got a pretty good recommendation.
There's only one more point.
In Harvey, Louisiana, I'm Chris Condi.
Thanks for joining us for KRHD News at 6. We'll be back with more news and weather tonight at 10. Until then,